Hey, I'm Chris Jewett. Welcome to Coach's Corner. I started Leverage Lacrosse 15 years ago, as well as the Los Angeles Box Lacrosse League. And I'm here with Todd Francis, who has an incredibly impressive background. If you could tell us a little bit about your bio and your lacrosse story here.
Oh, my lacrosse story. Well, growing up in Massachusetts, obviously it was an area where we could really, play the game. But the town I grew up in didn't have it. But my father was a private school teacher, and they had lacrosse there, and fell in love with it. Really, probably in about 7th or 8th grade when my older brother was playing, and that led me to be able to go to Cornell, and I had a successful career there. And from there on, they had just started the professional indoor league in 1989, I believe, by us. And I, lucky enough, got into that, and the next 10 years really changed my life on how I looked at the game of lacrosse.
And you played for the Blazers and then coached for them as well professionally?
Yep, I played for the Blazers for 10 years, and I was lucky enough to be able to coach with them in 2010, I believe. And really, that's what led me to where I am today, and to really thinking about how you look at the game of lacrosse and how you teach it and how it should be played. And there's just, we'll get into it at some point, but there's just so many benefits to that game that really do translate very, very well to the field.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And now you're at Whittier, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about Whittier. What are your plans for Whittier?
So, playing box, you'd have Canadians come down and play with us, and we found these Canadians that a lot of them, they played at Whittier.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
we in New England, you think about these small liberal arts schools, and you're wondering, how is this tiny little school, tiny school in L.A. coming and kicking our ass? And so, we thought about it. It was just something that we admired, and everybody kind of followed it a little bit. And then we heard that the school had cut the program. And in New England, what you thought about was, this is the way small liberal arts schools are going to go with non-revenue generating sports. So it was kind of, it was sad. A lot of people were turned off by it all. But then in 2022, they decided to bring it back. And after speaking to alums, it really had nothing to do with any revenue generation or anything like that. It really just had to do with the philosophy of the president at the time. She thought the school would be better without it. It was not the case. Turned out to be almost deathly to the school. Mm-hmm. But new administration came in. They're awesome. They're 100% supportive. And so I just kind of, I thought about it, and I kind of felt, it's a passion project. It's really come back and bring back an iconic program that has, that deserves to have that legendary, with that legendary reputation, it deserves to have a great program. So
I'm excited for
that's
you.
where, here we are.
I'm excited. So maybe at the end, you were an All-American at Cornell. Maybe you could give us your best Richie Moran story, but we could save that for the end, and maybe we might have to edit it. But
no, Richie did a lot for me. He had a very his own way of coaching, which was, tough, and he got on you. And I was a goalie when I got to Cornell, and there were 3 of us, and I think I had. I feel maybe I had a little leg up on the others, mostly because I was probably more of an athlete than they were. But, they were both All-Americans from upstate New York, or, that area. And but then, one year they accepted Paul Schmoller, who ended up being a 4-time All-American, and they looked at us and said, none of you guys are playing anymore once he gets here. And so they put a long stick in my hand. And, it was a big change, because Richie, I think, put a lot into me and said, I trust this kid. He's an athlete. Let's see how he does. And, giving me that free reign with the rest of the team we had, I ended up being, having a very, very successful career, and, made it to a national championship game. And we played together, our group played together for 25 years after college. So, Cornell was, and there's things at Whittier that I want to do very similar to Cornell. Cornell has an incredible alumni network, and so does Whittier. And I just want to, I want those guys want to have a great program, but I also want them to understand they can be helpful to our student athletes, post college, what they're going to do, a little mentoring, if you will, of different areas. We've got lawyers and bankers, and and get the kids out into the world with a little just a little help. I mean, all we ever want to do with this game of lacrosse is get you a better opportunity in life. You're not going to make millions playing. No. So let's use the game to set us up better in life than we can. So.
Well, speaking of getting better, I'm excited to have your expertise out here. We're going to run a camp, a box lacrosse camp on September 6th, September 7th, 6th for high school, 7th for youth and middle school. We're going to cap it at 35 players so that everyone can get enough touches and reps.
Absolutely.
And the idea behind it is to get back to really what the intention was of the LA Box League, which is to play real Canadian-style box lacrosse. So the coaches are welcome, the parents are welcome, and obviously the players are going to learn a lot. What would a player expect to learn from you if they sign up for the camp?
So the curriculum we'll use is something I've used for about the last 10 years. And basically, we begin with, sometimes it may seem somewhat elementary, but just some basic stick skills that we really need to perfect. The thing about the game of box is everything happens so much faster.
Yes.
Okay? The ball never goes out of bounds.
Correct.
You're in tight spaces. Your defender is going to be on you in a second, and you got to make a decision right away.
Containment checked or cross
Absolutely. And at the same time, when you don't have the ball, you are in part of the play. On the field, if you're across the other side of the field, you're going to be a pass, if not two passes away from getting it. But in the box, all five guys are playing together from a goalie save, right? The transition is a huge part of it. So we will step into that. We'll teach some new skills. Then we will show you how to use those skills, right? And putting it into new offensive flows or new transition patterns. And then at the same time, and this is as important as anything else, is, how do we defend that, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of just, you're communicating on defense from the moment the ball gets turned over.
Sure.
You've got to talk about it. And if you don't, it's going to break down very quickly because, all five guys on the offense are moving. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into that. We'll talk a lot about the two-man game.
Passing, picking.
And,
picks, down picks, all
the
that good
whole
stuff.
idea of anything in lacrosse is beat your man and create an odd man situation.
Sure.
And there's really two ways of doing that. You can dodge by them, or you can play the two-man game. Yeah, sure. And there's not a ton of room to run by people in a box, so you got to get playing with your other
team.
team.
Cross check.
Absolutely. The whole idea of playing defense in this game is really about body position and where we want to put them on the field. In America, we seem to, in field in America at least, you see a lot of alley dodges, and they're like, well, I can get down that alley and I can take a good shot. And my answer is, well, it's because I let you go there. That's where I want you to go.
Sure.
The big difference in the box is we attack from the wings into the middle as opposed to from the top down. And that's, you're seeing that a ton more. You don't see a lot of dodges from up top unless, you're Cornell and you got Hugh Kelleher who can come and hammer, 110 miles an hour each hand. It doesn't matter, right? But then, you watch it and you see how they play. Everybody's working from the wings in, and that's what you want to do. You want to get to the middle of the field, and that's what we do in box. So you will get a healthy dose of that, and hopefully this is going to turn into something that we can do in more training situations. Sure. And the biggest thing about playing box here in America is I see kids people just go into a box without any training.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to get at. And I was adamant when I started this league 15 years ago of playing what I call real Canadian-style box, meaning live boards, cross checks, shot clocks, overstuffed goalies, little goals, right? Transition, the bump picks, all of that. Yeah. Explain why that style and why there's a reason where a lot of these Americans, if they're good enough, are going to play junior A's in Canada to play that style, and that's the style we're playing in the LA Box League. That's the style you're going to train. Explain why that style makes you a better player overall.
So one of the biggest terms that we hear nowadays, and it was thrown around for a while, is lacrosse IQ, right? And I think that's a great thing, having a high IQ. But there's a term that I like better, and that's acumen. Acumen is the ability to make judgments and decisions quickly, okay, and in a particular realm. And in this case, everything you do, every step you take with or without the ball makes a difference. So we get in there, I talk a lot on the field about those kids who just stand around can ruin the whole play just by standing there, by not doing anything.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that in the box.
Correct. Because there's off ball.
There's off ball. They're coming in, right? They're sealing you. And if you're not tying up
the boards are live, you have to run along those boards or jump to the middle and be sprinting at all times.
Right. And if you're not occupying your defenseman, he just becomes,
you're going to get hit.
There's another double.
Yeah.
And so, there's so much that can be learned. And what I see from Canadians that play indoor and then all of a sudden go onto a field, they're just like, this is just, how can they stop this? Like, I don't understand if we do it right. And, there's things I've learned of watching Americans play and Canadians play that we'll go over in the two-man game. It's a mental aspect. For one, pickers in America think that their job is to separate the defender from the ball carrier. And in reality is I want you to go in with a little more of a selfish attitude of how do I get myself open? This isn't all about helping him out. I'm going in to get out and get myself open, right? And if you do that correctly, you have an opportunity to make both of you open, or one of you for sure. If you go in to that pick with the thinking, I'm trying to get him free, that's usually a very easy thing to defend. But if I go in with the attitude of, I can get out of here before, I can go in, start that set pick and get out, while the defense is making that critical communication of whether you're staying or switching, and you roll away right away.
And you want to teach that as well.
Oh, absolutely. That's 90% of what we do in the two-man game is you don't set the picks a ton in field. In box, you make contact almost all the time. But what we can take from that is when we go out to a field, you just get in and you've got to think about it. As you are going to set the pick, you have to be aware of where your defender is. We're usually focused on the ball carrier's defender. If I see my defender start to drop off, I'm going to make him pay for it. And you're thinking about it the whole time. And then you take that from a small area of a box and put it out on a field, and it can be unstoppable.
And then you add the shot clock in, which makes it even faster, and it's just so much faster and so much fun to play.
Yeah, there's no hiding in a box, right? There's no hiding. You get the ball, and that's, the whole idea of acumen, again, is you got to make that decision quickly, and it starts in transition. As you're going down, you're not just running the ball up the floor. You're reading where everybody is. The ability to take 10 players and put them in your brain and see where they are and find the immediate spot where you can take advantage of it is huge. If you just sit there and run it up the field and stand there and allow the defense to kind of pick kids up as they're coming off the box, you just missed a lot of opportunity of creating confusion.
Yeah, and the transition game is
game's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, and it's in the game these days in the NLL. The transition game's kind of gone away
because they're specializing.
Yeah, when we played,
you're on.
As Americans, we actually played it like hockey for the first couple of years. We had 3 forwards, 2 defensemen on every line.
Okay.
And finally we realized, well, these Canadians are, you have 5 offensive guys out there, so we started running, 10 guys out the front door and 5 guys out the back door, and but for even then we were run and gun. We went. The transition that we had in back in the 90s was, it's what made it fun. Sure. If you told me no, you got to get it down there and wait up, we're going to be like, what are you talking about? No, we want to go. We were just a bunch of just horses that were absolutely just let out into mavericks that were let out into the prairie, and we just went, and that's what we wanted to do.
Exciting.
But the game has changed, just like any sport. You get analytics into it, they see what works and things to be done. But the shot clock, really, at 30 seconds, man, that's a quick clock, especially if it's going to take you, let's say, 5 to 7 seconds to get it over the midline. It's substitute kids in.
Sure.
You're playing from 20 seconds down every time. Yeah. And that's awesome.
Love it.
A lot of fun. Kids have a great time playing the box.
It's the best.
It is the best.
Well, thank you, Todd, for coming on the first episode of the Coach's Corner. I'm so
pleasure.
Fired up to have you out here. You're a fantastic person, amazing coach. I'm so excited about this camp that we're going to host together. So
it's going to be great.
Thank you so much, and
You're
everyone
very
can check out Whittier College and what you going on there. I'm very excited for you, and
Thanks.
comment on who you'd like for me to speak with next. Thank you.